Hello, boys and girls of all ages and sizes. This is your hearty and humble host of horror, the Horror Heathen, from the Horror Heathen YouTube channel and the South Jersey Horror Podcast. Today, I have a very special and honorary guest. He is the star in one of my favorite all-time movies from the 1980s, Mr. Grant Cramer, who starred in the movie Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And I just absolutely love that movie. I still watch it to this day. The song gets stuck in my head every once in a while because it's just a catchy tune. so, um, so in your first feature film, the role was, your first feature film role was in 1980, and you starred in the horror film New Year's Evil.
Yep.
Your first significant role came in the 1984 cult comedy film Hard Bodies, in which you played Scotty Palmer. Your other big film was a 1988 cult classic, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and other film roles include appearances in Mach 2 and Follow the Prophet. I'm gonna have to check those movies out. Because I read your bio, I'm like, there's no way he's been in all these movies, these TV shows, but you were. I'm like, really? Now I have to go back and watch them because apparently you're in some television series as well, like television movies.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
Desperate Lives as a teenage drug user. You started in a soap opera, The Young and Restless.
Yeah, I was on that for a couple of years.
I think that a lot of people started out in soap operas. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. It's a great way to, kind of work on your craft because you got to show up. You got to learn your lines every single day and show up. And, what I mean? It's a good kind of workshop
and I don't
way
know if
to get a lot of experience.
and I don't know if you've ever watched the TV the TV show on Netflix Supernatural, but the guy who plays Dean, um I can't remember, Jensen Ackles, he started on General Hospital, and when he first started acting, I was like, no way.
Sweet. That's awesome. Yeah, I did a little, but actually my first soap opera thing was, back when John Stamos was like the big rage in General Hospital as Blackie. I was like he was rushing a fraternity, and I did like 5 episodes as that's like the fraternity head or something like that. It's been a long time, I don't remember exactly, but that was fun. That was my first kind of soap opera experience ever.
After that, you turn to your attention to writing, producing, and directing, performing all three duties on the short film Say Goodnight, Michael. The film won numerous awards, including the Grand Jury Award at the New York Independent Film and Video Festival. Congratulations. That's a major achievement.
Thank you.
That's a great achievement. You created and you executive produced the VH1 series Old School, which I used to watch, by the way. So, and with Terry and Gita, which aired in over 40 countries internationally, which is another great feat because I heard it's very hard to have television shows aired internationally from the United States.
Thank you.
And now you are the president of Land of Far Entertainment, or is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Land of Far Entertainment, which is just my production company.
Okay. And it's also an independent film finance and production company. Films that have executive produced include Lone Survivor, And So It Goes, November Man, and How to Make Love Like an Englishman, which has a really saucy title to it.
Yeah, that was the. I don't know. Oh, you can't see it, but the actual poster is on the wall behind me, and they changed the name to Some Kind of Beautiful, which I thought was kind of a very generic title. I thought How to Make Love Like an Englishman was a lot like, what the hell is that? I thought it was much more interesting, but Some Kind of Beautiful just seemed like a very innocuous, generic title.
Well, it got the attention of somebody.
That was called when we made it, was How to Make Love Like an Englishman.
Well, it definitely caught the attention of somebody because they stuck with it. So
Exactly.
So as we discussed Killer Klowns, and like I said, that movie is still one of my favorites of all time. Matter of fact, I watched it 2 days ago just because it was so fantastically done for the 80s era. It's like the special effects and the makeup were just phenomenal. and the acting, you can tell that you tried really hard to play your character's role. So, but you did it so well.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was so great. So
I think you got to kind of go all in on things like that. You know what I mean? You can't half do it.
if I was in a movie with killer clowns, I think I'd just be laughing way too much. There's no way I could be too serious on sets.
Yeah, but I mean that's what kind of sells it is when you're doing things that are completely, I mean, just completely kind of crazy and insane. You've got to sell it by investing in it like it's the most real thing in the world, like almost like hyper reality in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's considered a cult classic by the horror community, and it's still a cherished treasure. And it's
Thank you.
yeah, it's great. So, what was it like working on set with actors dressed as clowns? I have to know.
I mean, there's two parts. I mean, one part was you're an actor and you're trying to get ready for your scene and do what you have to do, and the other part was just kind of like almost being kind of like a fanboy, seeing all of these cool costumes and animatronics because um, I had never been involved in something like that at that point in my life. So we were over there poking and squeezing the noses and seeing how everything worked and just thinking it was pretty cool and crazy and um so it was fun, you know what I mean, like it was fun just doing something that was so completely and totally off the wall.
It worked.
Yep.
I'm not too sure if this movie was like a box office hit when it first came out of theaters. I didn't really check the
No, it
numbers.
wasn't. I mean, funny thing is like you mentioned Hard Bodies. Like Hard Bodies was kind of a cult movie before Killer Clowns. Do you know what I mean? Um, and then it was almost like the tortoise and the hare. Hard Bodies kind of came shooting out and became this kind of like you know 80s TNA beach comedy that kind of caught on and became kind of a cult movie. And then Killer Clowns just like was the tortoise that just kept on slowly creeping up and now especially with all of the merchandising, the cool costumes and toys and I think and I don't know if John Massari, the composer, who's a pretty awesome dude, and they released his. You were mentioning the song they released. Have you seen the vinyl soundtrack that they released this last year?
No, I have not.
They released the entire soundtrack on vinyl, and it's like absolutely gorgeous. And then they have the video game either just came out or is about to come out. And then of course horror conventions have given it kind of a big boost too. So in a lot of ways, it's crazy. It's probably more has more fans and is more popular now than it ever was. You know what I mean? All this time later.
Yeah, my brother and I, we both grew up watching this movie, and when he saw the post I did on Facebook, because I'm interviewing you, I have one of your pictures up there. He's like, "Oh my God, he hasn't changed since the movie.
Well, that's
he
funny.
looks the same."
We're a little older. Um, it's funny. There's a director that I'm working with on a movie I'm producing, and we never really talked about Killer Clowns because we're talking about his movie and other things like that. And he texted me yesterday and he said, "Are you were in Killer Clowns from Outer Space?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "My son just came in and saw that I was talking to you and freaked out." Like that's like his favorite movie. And I just think it's really fun because too, it's like when I go to the conventions and stuff, sometimes people are coming in and there's already like 3 generations of Killer Clowns fans. You know what I mean? People have turned it on to their kids. The original people that that really dug it turned it on to their kids, and then those kids are even having kids now, and there'll be little kids that are 8 years old coming dressed up like Shorty and stuff like that. being big Killer Klowns fans. I have a 7-year-old who hasn't even watched it yet, but he brings stuff home from school for me to autograph.
That's awesome.
And from friends of his that my son's kind of a scaredy cat. He's I'm like, aren't you ready to watch Killer Klowns? He's like, not yet, Daddy, not yet. But a lot of his friends have.
This past Halloween, social media blew up with Killer Klowns. Everyone was buying the costumes, the little ray guns that spin those spinning things with the ray guns that turn you into cotton candy. It was a huge smash hit this past Halloween. I'm like, what is going on? It's like a killer clown craze going on this past Halloween.
We went into Spirit of Halloween to buy. Spirit of Halloween. Do you have those stores out there?
Oh yeah, that's my place to go during the Halloween season. That's my home away from home.
Yeah, so we went in there to get my son, his costumes and stuff like that. And he has a little YouTube channel, so we were shooting the video of him picking out the costumes, and he's like, "Daddy, come over here!" And the whole section was nothing but Killer Klowns from Outer Space. With the life, the shorty animatronics and the whole deal, and all the masks and the ray guns, and it was like, it was wild. There was a whole little aisle that was dedicated to it.
Yeah, for some reason this year, 2022 was like the revisitation of 1980s horror, comedy horror, and just all the subgenres of 80s. And
I think the Universal, the Universal Horror Nights too. That's kind of for Killer Klowns and some other movies. That's kind of really generated because they've got these great, every year they have these great. Have you been there yet? Universal Horror Nights?
No, that's on my bucket list.
Oh, it's pretty cool. The Killer Klowns thing. I wasn't able to go this last year. I forget why. I was out of town or something like that. But a couple of years right before the pandemic, they had the initial opening of the Killer Klowns, kind of ride thing you go to. It's not a ride, but you walk through. It's a whole kind of haunted house,
like attractions kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's super cool. I was blown away at how well they did it. It was just awesome. So I think those things too kind of give that and other 80s horror movies some really cool new fans and resurgences. You know what I mean? You go through that, and then you go through it because you've seen the movie, or you're coming out of it and you go, I better go see this, right?
Absolutely. I'm trying to introduce my son to it, but he's more into the new age horror, and like this is not where horror stemmed from. You have got to watch the 80s stuff. So he's like, Hellraiser. Oh, have you seen he's like, Dad, have you seen the new Hellraiser 2022? I was like, yeah, of course I've seen it. I had the opportunity to interview two of the actors for the new Hellraiser movie. And my son's like, well, I haven't seen the old ones. I'm like, you need to come to my house. We're gonna have a whole marathon.
He's never seen the original Hellraiser. Oh my God.
I saw it in the theater when it first came out.
What's the name of the badass dude in that like Pincushion or something?
Pinhead, but yeah.
Right? Pinhead.
But yeah, he's like, I've never seen the old ones. Like, well, when I get to Washington State, we're having a marathon. So who Pinhead is and the Cenobites. Anyway, I digressed. I have to know, when you first got the script to Killer Klowns, what was your initial thought? What was going through your head?
Like I said, I'd never seen a script like that before. Most of the things I saw were kind of dramas and funny little comedies and action type movies and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I'm reading the script and I'm going, what? You know what I mean? It was just so completely off the wall. But my agent, kind of said, hey, these guys, they just did Critters and Large Marge, and this is nuts. They've got, this is their movie to direct, and I think it could be really, really cool. And it was funny. I had a good friend who was like a friend of the family that had just offered me the lead in, kind of one of these 80s style, almost like, you remember those like American Ninja type of movies?
Oh yeah.
Kind of like these low budget, kind of.
Those are the best ones.
Like the precursor to the Jason Statham movies now, right? and he'd written it and got the money. He was going to direct it, and but he got the money. They were making a lot of movies at that time down in South Africa because this was back when South Africa was an apartheid state, and I guess that was one of the ways they were trying to get money out of South Africa because of all the sanctions and things like that. So, he was putting a lot of pressure on me to do that one, and I just didn't really want to do it because of the whole, the whole social conscience thing of going to South Africa and kind of being part. It's almost like being a scab on a union, breaking a union line or something, right? But I wanted to act, and I had that one, and I was getting pressure for it, and I had this crazy movie, Killer Klowns, and at the end of the day, I just had to tell my friend, dude, I can't go to South Africa. I can't do that. Sorry. I wish you all the best, but I'm going to go do this.
It's too hot.
This crazy movie, and I'm glad I did because it's the movie that just kind of keeps on giving. Everybody from the movie is like a big family. And literally right before I came on the podcast, I looked at my phone and Suzanne was calling me to chat. Suzanne that played Debbie, who was my girlfriend in the movie, is still kind of one of my closest friends, and so it's kind of neat. It's this side part of my life that has become this incredibly cool thing. 3-4 times a year I usually go do conventions and the autograph signings and the panels, and it's just fun to see that there's so many people that dig this movie after all this time, and it keeps on growing in popularity. So it's a neat thing. I'm glad I didn't go to South Africa and do the little action movie.
Yeah, I was telling my wife the other day, it's like 1980s horror. It's coming back. It's a lot of it's coming back, and then they're trying to do all these remakes, and I'm like, okay, you cannot remake a classic. It's impossible. But the new Hellraiser movie was actually pretty damn good. I enjoyed it.
Really?
I did, because Clive Barker, the creator of Hellraiser, in his novel, the Hellbound Heart, Pinhead is a woman in the book. So now the Hellraiser movie that they just did was based off the book, and it was fantastic.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And
who plays? Is it anybody that we know that plays Hellraiser, or just?
Well, it's all new cast, all new characters that were not in the original Hellraiser movies. Jason Stiles, he plays Chatterer. He's the only. I think that's the only one that brought back was the Chatterer.
Mm.
I also talked to Zachary Hing, and he played the Asphyx. And they're, like I said, all new characters, and they followed the book really close, and I was very impressed with it. So
you read the book?
I read some of it. I didn't get the chance to finish reading it, but I did read some of it because I lost the book. I can't find it. It just disappeared in my house. So, but yes, they followed the book really close, and I was very impressed with the movie. I watched it like 8 or 9 times already because I'm trying to catch things that are in the book, like the configuration for the box. It turns into different puzzle pieces, just like it does in the book. There's 8 different configurations. So, and I thought it was fantastically done. So,
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check it out.
So I was impressed with it, but there has been a lot of negative feedback about the movie because they didn't follow, like, Pinhead's a woman now and not a man. And I'm telling these people they're following the book because Pinhead is a female in the book. It's a hell priestess, not a priest. So
and look, I mean, you've got if you are going to remake kind of a classic too, I think you have to kind of, you can't try to make the same movie, right? You've got to try to reinvent it a little bit. I mean, look, the new Black Panther is a woman, so if Black Panther can be a woman, why not Pinhead, right?
Exactly. It's Let's say okay. It's got a lot of negative feedback.
I don't want them. I keep on hearing James Bond's going to be a woman. I'm like, no, Jane Bond.
I don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, is it going to be like, instead of like Bond women, it's going to be Bond men now? So
I don't know. Maybe turning the tables on us, you know.
I don't know. It just sounds. It may turn out pretty good. We never know. So
Are you going to be? Who's going to be the Bond boy in this one?
you're a poster child now. All right.
Exactly. Too funny.
So I have to know, in the movie, the clown spaceship, was that like an actual set, or was that a backdrop?
Um, you mean the interior of the spaceship, or
Yes.
the interior, the exterior?
Well, both actually. If it's, I'm not sure.
So the 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 exterior depends, right? I mean, like we were up in Santa Cruz area, which is just south of San Francisco, and that really woody kind of area where we're shooting up there. Big redwoods and all that kind of stuff for us. So they had a big spot in the forest, kind of a clearing that obviously that they, we were looking at when we were looking at the spaceship from a distance and all that kind of thing. And then when we would have to go closer, they would build, like when Pooh Bear, gets caught in the thing, they would, they'd kind of build the piece that they needed to do it. But obviously they didn't build a massive, uh, they didn't build a massive tent out in the forest. It would have been really difficult to do, and there wouldn't really have been a purpose to it. So it was kind of a combination of building the practical parts that when you were up close, and then more like paintings, matte paintings and things when you were further away. And then the whole time that we were shooting the movie, we kept on going and visiting where all the construction crew, this big warehouse that they were building the interior of the thing in. So that just kind of came up while we were shooting, and we shot there probably the last week or two of the movie. And they just built all of those cool, crazy balloon rooms and things to slide down. That was all just built out in a great big warehouse.
It was fantastically done. I mean, I thought I was actually under the impression that it was an actual spaceship. Of course, I was a young kid too, so the time I first saw this. So
yeah, and by the way, like the stuff you see, I mean, this was back in. These guys were the Kyoto brothers are big fans of. I don't know if you guys know if you know who Ray Harry. Blah, 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 can't speak this morning. I'm still drinking my coffee. Ray Harryhausen.
sounds familiar.
He's like the most famous, creature creator from like I think the 1930s or the 50s and all that. I mean, Ray Harryhausen not only created kind of like King Kong and Mighty Joe Young, but he did all of those movies like It's Alive with so they were huge fans of that. And that's back, when they used to do lots of beautiful matte paintings. And so that's actually a matte painting behind what you see behind me. So okay. These are just like beautiful paintings that were done in all the old movies. And this was really a kind of a love letter to all of those old Alien movies, those Ray Harryhausen movies. You should really go check out Ray Harryhausen if you know who he is, because when it comes to creature creation and stop motion, he is he's the GOAT. He's the Elvis Presley of it all. You know what I mean? He's the one that everybody reveres. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we'd walk. They'd build practically in there the corridor, and we'd run down, and it would open up, but then there would just be a big kind of, I forget if it was green screen or what, but we'd have to look out, and we'd have to trust that when we saw the movie, when they did the reverse of what we were looking at, that we would see something like that. And so there was all these beautiful matte paintings that created the large cavernous rooms and all that kind of stuff.
I think it would have been just a big giant playground for me if I was.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, we were all like little fan kids when we were making it. Every time we had one of those scenes, we couldn't wait to see how they were going to do it and what they were going to show up with next. And, how are we going to do the balloon animals? How are we going to do the popcorn spores? How are we going to do the guy riding the invisible motorcycle?
I'm
It
I'm a
was fun.
huge fan of practical makeup and special effects. Nothing beats it.
Me
It's
too.
there's not all the CGI coming out. I'm like, it looks weird because the last season of The Walking Dead, they decided to use CGI for makeup. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop it.
Are you a Walking Dead fan?
I was. A while ago. Um, I think after they took Andrew Lincoln out of the show, that's when I stopped watching it. So,
Uh,
but I did
the
talk to
uh,
Lou.
the next
I
the
did
next movie, the movie I'm producing this in the beginning of the year, the early part of the year, not really the beginning, but one of the stars is Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
really.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I did
Um,
speak to a Lou Temple. He was in season 3 of The Walking Dead, my favorite season.
oh,
So
sweet.
I got to interview him a couple weeks ago. So
Nice.
yeah, he's a fantastic guy too. He's been labeled the chameleon of Hollywood because he can just take on any role given to him, and
Awesome.
which is true because he went from playing like a badass prisoner in Walking Dead to like some killer dad in a movie that we talked about called Ferals. It's like
Sweet.
he has an impressive resume too when it comes to acting. But um, after the movie was wrapped up and everything, did you get the chance to watch yourself in Killer Clowns? What was your reaction?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the first time I saw the movie, the cut of the movie was at the we had a screening and won some kind of an award there's a kind of like the Academy Awards, but it's for sci-fi and horror.
Uh-huh.
So they had a screening down in downtown LA for I think it was called the Academy of Sci-Fi and Horror or something like that. Um, and
Actually, I
yeah,
got
it
the
was a
blanket behind
trip.
me.
What's that?
Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. So that's where I saw it the first time, and then I think on opening night, uh, I drove out to Hollywood Boulevard and watched it, in a real theater with real people because I used to always like to do that, just to see what people's reactions were and how people were. Um, and I thought it was really cool. I mean, I thought it was really fun. Um, it didn't. The amazing part of it is that even though it didn't kind of get a big audience out of the gate, didn't make a lot of money, but I don't know if they were really pushing it thinking it was going to. Um, but it got like insanely good reviews. And sometimes you make a crazy movie and people just say, oh, "Okay, what is this stupid movie?" And sometimes they kind of get what you're going for, the critics, and they don't rip it apart. And there's the kind of the paper that everybody would pick up, the free paper that's out in front of all the stores and everything was called the LA Weekly, and LA Weekly gave it the pick of the week. And the LA Times, which is the biggest newspaper, came out and said it was in labeled it the funniest movie of the year, and so it got all of these like really good reviews. So like it's amazing, usually the critics get it wrong on horror and sci-fi, right? But in this one, they're the ones that kind of pegged that this was something kind of special, and it took the audience's fans kind of a while to catch up.
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge fan of the movie. I don't care what the public says.
The
or what
public loves it. I mean, it's
what
crazy.
the critics say. So so did you ever think um this movie would be considered a cult classic after all these years?
When you read a movie like this, you kind of suspect that it could become a cult classic because it's just so off the wall. But no, I mean, I think that all of us that worked on the movie are pretty shocked that here we are. What is it? 40 years later, nearly 40 years later, and we're still talking about Killer Clowns. I mean, I don't know if any of us could have really expected it was going to be that much of a cult classic, but a little bit. We all thought it was kind of crazy and had that potential.
Well, I believe this movie has immortalized you. So
Yeah, one of my friends one time he was really depressed uh, and he's actually the guy. I produced this movie a year ago called Willy's Wonderland, and I actually hired him to be my composer on it, and because he loved Killer Klowns so much. But one time he was really depressed, and I was kind of trying to cheer him up. And I said, come on, man, you've got so much to feel good about, and blah blah blah. He cracks me up. He looks at me, he goes, "That's easy for you to say. If I'd ever done like a life's work like Killer Klowns from Outer Space, I wouldn't have anything to worry about either." And I was okay, really?
Pump the hip brakes, bro. Come on now.
He actually really thought it was that cool of a thing. But it is cool. It is cool, but it's just fun. You know what I mean?
It is a great movie, and I'm probably gonna watch again as I'm doing this interview because it's fantastic. This is great movie. So the last question I have for you, and because it happens to be all the damn time, do you ever catch yourself singing the theme song?
Sometimes, from outer space. Sometimes, do you?
Yes, because it's on my Spotify playlist under favorites. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes it's catchy, and especially if the movie's just been on or something, then it'll be playing in my head for a while.
I'll be cooking the kitchen. I start singing "P.T. Bottom said so long ago." My wife's like, "Shut up."
That's funny. That's funny. I was a little bit disappointed at the beginning because I actually wrote a theme song for it, but I wasn't, I was just the actor in the thing. I wasn't, so they liked it, but they said, "Oh, we got this great song from the Dickies," and the Dickies were kind of a cool band at the time, so I understood that they had to go, but I was still kind of bummed that they didn't use my theme song. So I'm hoping that if we ever do get a sequel up and going, that I'll be able to repurpose that theme song I wrote 35 years ago for the original one.
Now, I wish there was a sequel to this movie. I wish there was a sequel because it would be awesome.
Maybe there will. You know what I mean? We've made a couple attempts at it and stuff, and we had the rights for a while, and then we lost the rights, and now we've got to kind of get them back. But what the Kyotos are telling me that they've been kind of having some talks about maybe doing something. So there may be something in the works. Whether I'm involved in it, I don't know at this point. But it'll be fun to see something happen no matter what.
It's like when they did the sequel to Aliens have you come back as an advisor. Like did Ellen Ripley come back as an advisor.
Yeah.
How do you kill these things? Oh, just call Mike Tobacco. He knows.
Well, yeah, we have a sequel written. I actually wrote the script to it, and my character was there was a couple new young guys in the movie, and my character was kind of a combination of Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future and Chris Christopherson from Blade. You know what I mean? Like, he becomes the one that's like, he just, "Yeah, you got to shoot the nose, kill the clown," and kind of teaches the new young people how to, fight back the clown invasion. And so that was actually kind of, if they ever did that script, you know what I mean? And who knows? But that would be what my character would be, is kind of the he's kind of the clown drunk, the town drunk that everybody thinks is crazy. That he's been talking about their clowns are coming back, and the clowns are coming back until the clowns actually do come back, and then he's the one that steers everybody in the direction. He's been reverse engineering the clown technology and preparing for him for all these years.
Well, I gotta wrap this up. I'm sorry, I got my 1-minute warning on this thing. I hate Zoom passions. But thank you so much for joining me. I really did appreciate you taking the time out, and I enjoyed this interview. And it was just great talking to you, revisiting this movie. It's been fantastic.
Hey, Ben, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for asking me. Anytime, man, just let me know, and I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I wish you the best in your career, producing, directing, acting, all that stuff. And I don't know why you should win more awards for for this movie.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, sir. Take care and have a West Coast sunny. Is it sunny out there right now or is it raining? Because it's raining here in New Jersey and it sucks.
It's kind of you can't see. I forgot I have the background up. Kind of an overcasty day. So hopefully the sun will break through. But right now it's looking a little gloomy.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much. And I will see you.
You too, man. Happy holidays and hope you get out to Seattle soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a very good day.
I appreciate it. You too.